You didn't notice it at first. For 2 years, your dog slept at the foot of the bed. Every single night, same spot, like clockwork. Then one week, they started sleeping on the floor right beside you. Not far, just off the mattress, right next to you. You figured it was the summer heat. Maybe they were a little warm. Maybe they just wanted more room. But 3 months later, maybe they just wanted more room. Early arthritis. 3 months later, your vet found early arthritis in both back hips. Your dog had been trying to tell you wasn't too hot, and they'd been trying for months. I've been a veterinarian for over 20 years, and I can tell you with complete honesty, the way your dog sleeps near you is one of the most overlooked health and behavioral communication signals that exists. And most owners, loving, attentive, devoted owners, have no idea what their dog has been quietly saying every single night. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. McKenna, and today I want to change that. Because where your dog sleeps, how they position themselves, and what it means when those things shift, this is a language your dog has been speaking to you from the very beginning. And once you understand it, you'll never look at your sleeping dog the same way again. Hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. Most people think of co-sleeping with their dog as a simple, sweet thing. The dog likes warmth, subscribe button, safe near you. Let's get into it. It's a love thing. Most people think of co-sleeping with their dog as a simple, right up sweet thing. I'm not here to debate whether you should let your dog sleep near you. That's a personal decision, and for many dogs and families, it works beautifully. But here's what I want you to consider. We've spent a lot of time asking whether it's okay for us to let our dogs sleep with us. Is it hygienic? Is it too indulgent? Does it spoil them? And almost no time asking what our dogs are actually communicating when they do. But what your dog chooses, location, like where they sleep, how close they get, what position they settle into. But what your dog chooses, where they sleep, how close they get, what position they settle into, and especially when those things change, that is not random. That is not just habit. That is communication. The reason most owners miss it is completely understandable. When you're half asleep and your dog shuffles around at 2 in the morning and settles slightly differently than usual, you're not running a behavioral assessment. That shift matters. You pull the covers up and your dog noticed whether you noticed. That's a normal human thing to do. Let me explain what I mean by that. But here's what I want you to share. That shift matters. And your dog noticed whether you noticed. Let me explain what I mean by that. I want to share something that I think gets misrepresented in a lot of online content about dogs and sleep. You'll hear people say things like, dogs sleep with you because they're guarding you, or because they're syncing their heartbeat to yours, or because it's a pack hierarchy thing. Some of those explanations carry a grain of truth, but they can actually lead owners to miss what's really happening, and in some cases, to miss real signals entirely. What the veterinary behavioral research does clearly and consistently show is this. Dogs are extraordinarily sensitive to routine and to subtle changes in their environment. Sleep time specifically is when a dog's nervous system is doing something genuinely important. It's calibrating. Think about what the edge of sleep represents for a dog biologically. Even a pampered, well-loved dog who has never spent a night outdoors still carries the deep, wired reality that sleep is a moment of vulnerability. What your dog decides in those moments as your dog drifts off, about there's a portion of their brain running what I describe as a security check. Is this environment stable? Is my person here? Is everything as it should be? What your dog decides in those moments isn't just about warmth or comfort. It's about safety calibration and the choices they make, where they position themselves. What I'm going to give you is a framework for reading your dog through the night. The first signal, these are a direct location relative to exits, emotionally, physically. That's what most people are missing when they look at their sleeping dog and just think, oh, that's cute. So let's get practical. I want to walk you through what I've observed over years of clinic work and what behavioral research supports about what specific sleep patterns can actually tell you. I want to be upfront about something first. I'm not going to give you a rigid decoding key. If your dog sleeps on the left side, they feel X. If they face the window, they mean Y. It doesn't work like that. Dogs are individuals. Context matters enormously. What I'm going to give you is a framework for reading your dog. The first signal. Location relative to exits. Dogs who are experiencing genuine anxiety, not just I miss you when you leave restlessness, but real underlying stress, will often sleep in positions that give them a clear line of sight to the door. Or they'll position themselves between you and the only exit from the room. I had a client, a couple, with a 4-year-old lab mix named Biscuit. Biscuit had always slept at the foot of the bed, relaxed, stretched out, totally at ease. Then, over about 6 weeks, they noticed Biscuit had moved to sleeping in the doorway of the bedroom, not outside it, in the threshold, right at the frame. They assumed he just wanted more space. He was a big dog. He made sense on the surface. He was a big dog. When they came in for his annual visit and mentioned it in passing, when they came in for his annual visit and mentioned it in passing, it turned out that 6 weeks earlier was exactly when their household schedule had changed significantly. One partner had started a new job with much earlier hours. Biscuit's whole daily routine, feeding time, walk time, who was home when, had quietly shifted. Biscuit wasn't seeking space. Biscuit was sleeping in the one spot between family members that the dog has been quietly absorbing and maintain access to the rest of the house. Dogs will sometimes stressed, not in crisis, but running at an elevated baseline, and his sleep location was the first and clearest signal of that. The second signal, physical contact, and when it changes. Some dogs sleep touching you. Some sleep nearby, but not touching. Neither is the signal. The signal is always the change. A dog who has slept pressed against you for 2 years and 1 month starts keeping a few inches of distance. That's worth noticing. Not panicking, noticing. In my experience, there are two primary reasons this happens. Do they get up, one is to a physical discomfort, come back, when a dog is developing joint pain, do they seem stiff or reluctant when they finally stand up? Discomfort, being touched or jostled during sleep, becomes something they want to avoid. They still want to be near you, they just can't handle contact without being woken up by it. The closeness that used to be comforting now interrupts their rest. The second reason is emotional. If something in the household dynamic has shifted, a new person in the home, tension between family members that the dog has been quietly absorbing, a change in routine or handling, dogs will sometimes create a small but very deliberate distance. It doesn't look like rejection. It doesn't feel like rejection. I'll never forget a 12-year-old golden retriever named Recalibration, whose owner came managing their own nervous system. I asked how Hazel was sleeping. Much stimulation they take in during the night. The third signal, and this is the most overlooked one, is sleep quality itself. How often does your dog wake up through the night? Do they circle multiple times before they settle? Do they get up, move to a different spot, come back, don't circle again? Do they seem stiff the way you handle sleep time when they finally stand up? The rituals around it. These aren't just quirks or old dog behavior. Restless sleep in dogs can be an early indicator of cognitive changes, chronic pain, undiagnosed anxiety, or certain hormonal conditions. And I say this specifically about senior dogs because the thing I hear most often in clinic is, "Oh, she gets up a lot at night, but I figured that's just because she's older." Older does not mean restless. Older means we should be paying more attention, reach over and pet them. Restless or you let them under the covers. Something is uncomfortable. Or you shift to give them more space. Do something about it when we catch it early. I'll never forget a 12-year-old golden retriever named Hazel, whose owner came in for a routine checkup. I asked how Hazel was sleeping. "Fine," she said. Her husband in the corner quietly said, "She gets up 4 or 5 times a night." The owner looked surprised. She'd stopped tracking it. It had become normal background noise. Hazel had unmanaged arthritis in her lower spine. Once we got that under control, she slept through the night for the first time in nearly a year. Her owner cried in my office. Okay, here's the part of this video I really need you to hear. Because up until now, I've been talking about reading your dog's signals. Start waking up, but I also want to talk about the signals you're not because something is wrong, but because the midnight check-in has quietly. The way you handle sleep time with your dog, the rituals around it, what you respond to and what you don't. This is shaping your dog's nervous system on a nightly basis. And there is one pattern I see in my clinic with real regularity, and it is genuinely creating anxiety in dogs whose owners love them completely and are trying their hardest. I call it the midnight reassurance cycle. Here's how it unfolds. Your dog stirs at 2 a.m. Maybe they whine a little, maybe they nudge you with a paw. And you, because you love this dog and you're a caring person, reach over and pet them. Or you let them under the covers. Sleep patterns change noticeably. Or you shift to give them more space. Not just a one-off restless night, but a genuine shift in their behavior over days or weeks. Please, I know how natural that feels. I have a dog of my own. I understand the pull. But here's what's happening from your dog's perspective, neurologically in that moment. They woke up. Their nervous system was running and not distressed by a noise. Is everything stable? Outside? Is my person here? Checked. Is the world night panting can be an early sign of Cushing's. They signaled any uncertainty at all, something happened. You moved. You touched them. You spoke to them. You gave them focused, warm, responsive attention. You didn't mean to, but you taught them that 2 a.m. uncertainty produces an outcome. And dogs are fast learners. Within a few weeks, many dogs start waking up and seeking that response, not because something is wrong, but because the midnight check-in has quietly become a built-in part of their sleep routine. The uncertainty itself becomes a behavior because the behavior gets rewarded. And over months, what started as a genuinely sweet moment becomes a dependency. And that dependency can spiral into real separation anxiety, not just at night, but during the day. I want to be absolutely clear. I'm not saying ignore your dog when they're genuinely distressed. I'll come back to that distinction. What I'm saying in the morning, the most loving thing you can offer your dog at 2 a.m. that works itself out is often the thing that feels the real loving to a human real brain. Compensation, stillness, calm, unmoving presence. That steady silence is actually the most powerful signal you can give them that the world is fine. I need to pause here and be direct with you. If your dog's sleep patterns change noticeably, not just a one-off restless night, but a genuine shift in their behavior over days or weeks, please don't chalk it up to age or weather or phase. Dogs are stoic. It's one of the things I both admire about them and find heartbreaking in clinic. They will absorb a remarkable amount of physical discomfort, recognize before they show change without signs. Knowing what's normal. Sleep is often where that discomfort surfaces first, precisely because they can't consciously override it at night the way they might during the day when they're alert and focused on you. 3 things I want you to watch for specifically. Night panting with no obvious cause. If your dog is regularly panting at night in a cool room when they're not exercising and not distressed by a noise or event outside, please get that checked. Night panting can be an early sign of Cushing's disease, cardiac issues, chronic pain, or cognitive dysfunction syndrome. It is not normal aging. Repeated disoriented waking. If your dog gets up at night and seems confused about where they are, stands in the corner, or seems briefly lost in a room they know perfectly, particularly if this is new behavior, that needs a vet conversation. Dogs with this kind of clear transition, which is very treatable if caught reasonably early, stay settled longer, often appears first at night. Consistent morning stiffness. If your dog is slow to rise, reluctant to put weight on a leg, or takes several minutes before they move freely in the morning, that is pain. Not stiffness that works itself out in 10 seconds. I mean real reluctance, real compensation. That is not something to wait on. You spend 8 hours in close proximity to your dog every single night. You are in a better position than almost anyone to notice these things. Mentioning them to your vet, even at a routine visit, costs you nothing and can genuinely change outcomes. So what do you actually do with all of this? Let me make it concrete. Step 1, establish a baseline. Starting tonight, pay attention. You don't need a journal or an app, just notice. Where does your dog choose to sleep? How much do they move during the night? What does their body look like when they first wake up in the morning? Fluid and relaxed, or slow and guarded? The baseline is everything. You can't recognize a meaningful change without knowing what's normal for your individual dog. Step 2, create a clear sleep signal. Dogs need transitions. The shift from evening energy to sleep time should have a short, consistent ritual that your dog can learn to read. It doesn't need to be elaborate. Some people give a small treat at the same time each night. Some do a brief, calm petting session that they use only at bedtime. Some use a low, specific phrase said the same way each night before lights out. But do it calmly. What you're building is a reliable signal that tells your dog's nervous system hand on the day is done, the house is settled, no more monitoring is needed tonight. Dogs with this kind of clear transition often settle significantly faster and stay settled longer. Step 3, practice the quiet anchor. This is my practical alternative to the midnight reassurance cycle. The next time your dog stirs at night, before you respond, pause. Wait about 10 to 15 seconds. More often than you'd expect, they'll do their check, confirm you're present, and settle back down on their own. What you're doing when you let that happen is allowing them to self-regulate. You're giving their nervous system the chance to practice answering the "is everything okay?" That's not a small independently. That's the result of thousands of years of two species builds genuine resilience. If your dog is clearly distressed after a patient pause, not just fidgeting, but genuinely unsettled, then yes, respond. But do it calmly. A quiet word, a brief, still hand on their side, then stillness again. Not a conversation, not a full lights-on reassurance sequence. The message you want to send is, I'm here. This is normal. Go back to sleep. Step 4. Do a 10-second morning check, especially when your dog gets up in the morning. Restless sleep, watch night panting, and morning stiffness are things worth mentioning. Watch how they rise. Watch how they put weight on each leg. Watch whether they stretch comfortably or seem to brace themselves to stand. A dog who bounces up and shakes off is telling you they slept well. A dog who rises slowly, pauses before weight bearing, or skips their usual morning stretch is telling you something worth noting. 10 seconds. Every morning, you'll be amazed what you start to see. I want to end with something I hope observation tools. People ask me sometimes one question before I go, feel and I genuinely want letting to know their dog sleep near them. Has your dog sleep whether it's ever too indulgent, whether it creates problems? I always give them the same answer. The question isn't whether your dog sleeps near you. The question is whether you're paying attention while they do. Your dog chooses to sleep near you because you are, to them, the most reliable signal in their world that everything is okay. Not the warmest spot, not the most comfortable surface, you. The specific, irreplaceable you. That's not a small thing. That's the result of thousands of years of two species learning to read each other in the dark. And did you figure out why? And the way you honor that isn't by analyzing every movement. These stories or losing sleep over it yourself. If this video gave you something useful, it's by being steady when they need steady. By noticing when something changes and asking why. By being the calm, consistent presence their nervous system is calibrating to every single night. Here's the one thing I'd like you to take from this video. Your dog has been having a conversation with you every night. You've been in it the whole time. You just didn't know what to listen for. Now you do. Let me leave you with a quick recap. Sleep location and contact choices aren't just preferences. They reflect your dog's emotional and physical state, especially when they change. I want to end with something I hope night panting and morning stiffness are things whether they should feel guilty about letting their dog sleep near them. They are not guaranteed signs of disease, but they are worth a conversation. The way you respond to your dog at night shapes their nervous system. Calm stillness is often more reassuring than movement and words. And the morning check. 10 seconds of watching how your dog rises is one of the most underused observation tools you have. One question before I go, and I genuinely want to know your answer. Has your dog's sleep ever changed, and did you figure out why? Leave it in the comments. I read them. These stories matter. If this video gave you something useful, something that'll actually cross your mind tonight, a like helps us reach other dog owners who could use it. I'm Dr. Sean McKenna. Thank you for being the kind of person who wonders what their dog is really trying to say. I'll see you in the next one.